Okay, it is 4 o'clock. Thank you guys for joining us this afternoon. We'll probably have some more folks hopping on in just a minute. I am Cammie Nairn, and you are joining the NCEES beginning of year for teachers and support staff for 21-22. I hope you guys are having a great start of the school year. Some of you have been in session a while, and some of you are just getting started with your kids. So let's get started with our webinar. We do only have an hour and we do have a lot to cover. So let's do the next slide. We are holding our webinar in WebEx meetings. So a little bit of housekeeping. Keep your microphone muted unless you're sharing. You are welcome to unmute to ask questions or put them in the chat. So the chat does have like a little talk bubble somewhere on your dashboard. You'll see maybe down here in the bottom graphic, the chat may be on the far right. Depends on how you join us, where you find these tools. And you can have your video on. I will be turning mine off in a second to save bandwidth since I am working remote today. But do enter all of your questions in the chat, especially those that others might be interested in. If you do have a private question, there is a Q&A that you can open up and enter a question that only the panelists see, such as myself. I do like to circle with my little remote pointer here. If you're having audio issues, look for the 3 little dots, go under switch audio and test your audio and switch it if needed. Okay, I am Cammie Nair, and I do work for NCDPI in the Digital Teaching and Learning Division for Home Base. And I manage the NCEES system, the North Carolina Educator Effectiveness System. My colleague that is the NCEES business owner and answers all the policy questions for NCEES is Dr. Robert Sachs. He is going to try to join us, but he has been out in the West doing some PD training today. So he is probably on the road and he will join us if he can. Kim Simmons, Dr. Kim Simmons, if you joined us last year, she retired. So I'm going to do my best to do her slides today until that department hires somebody to replace Dr. Simmons. If you know anybody that would like to work for DPI, watch for that job posting. Dr. Simmons used to be a principal and then she joined DPI, and she has been awesome about NCEES training and answering all those policy questions. So we wish her well in her retirement. Let me put this link back in the chat. You can find a link to our presentation slides in the chat. Our agenda for today, we're going to be, I do need to introduce one more person before I do this. Joining us also is my colleague, Audrey Long. She manages the learning.com system, and she will be helping me monitor questions today. Audrey, did you want to unmute and say hello?
Hello, everyone. I'm just glad to be here assisting Cammie and just looking forward to the presentation that Cammie has.
Thank you, Audrey. All right, so let's get into our agenda. And we're going to look at how you access the NCEES system. Most of you know that by now, but some of you may be brand new. And as we go through these slides, it may go a bit fast at times. Anytime you need me to stop, go show you something in the live system, or to repeat a question, please enter a question in the chat or unmute and just ask. We're going to review the teacher.
Excuse me, Cammie.
Yes.
There, someone is saying that they need access. It says that they need access to the slide deck.
Oh, really? All right, let me check that real quick. All right, let's make sure we've shared this. Thank you, Audrey.
You're welcome.
We'll get this checked out. Oh, you're very right. Okay, you should be able to access the slide deck now.
And wait a minute, Cammie, someone says that they can only hear others speaking, but not the host. But they said they can hear me though, so I'm not sure.
Well, if you hear other speakers, is anybody else? Can everybody else hear me? Yes. I'm getting a thumbs up. Katie can hear me. Okay. All right. It looks like the
Okay.
sound is okay. We
Okay.
are recording the session, so you can watch the recording later. And Audrey, you're hearing me okay, right? So I think we're good.
Yes, I
Um,
can hear you, Cammy.
okay, they may need to check their audio.
Okay.
Okay. All right, so we're going to review the teacher evaluation process, how to start that evaluation plan, review the training and orientation step, review your professional development plan and how to begin that plan. We're going to take a look at reviewing the self-assessment in the PDP, reviewing back in the evaluation, the steps in an evaluation in an observation activity. And then we're going to, if we have time at the end, we'll take a quick look at how you find PD to take in NCEES that DPI provides for you to take for free. And finally, I have given you a few resource slides at the end. Turn my pointer back on. All right, so let's take a look at how you access NCEES. Everybody gets into NCEES by logging into DPI's single sign-on system. It actually has three names: Rapid Identity, NCED Cloud, or IAM. If you hear any of those, it is the same system. If you are in a district, a LEA, a charter, a public school unit, you're going to log in to NCED Cloud and you're going to enter your 10-digit UID number, and then you're going to click Go, and then it's going to ask you to enter your password that you set up. If you're brand new and you have never, ever, ever been in NCA Cloud, your district may walk you through how to claim your account first, and then you come back in here and log in. Claiming your account will allow you to set up this password. If you are DPI staff joining me today, you're going to change that top drop down to NCDPI and use your NCID and NCID password to log in. Once you click go on that second step, it's going to load the NCA Cloud dashboard, and you're going to look for the cyan blue letter P for Power School. Underneath it says Unified Talent, and underneath that it says NCEES, and that's what you're going to click to get into NCEES. All right, so when you open up in NCEES, you're going to land on the home page, and I've got it squared out in red here. This is what your home page looks like. We're not going to go through all these little icons. This was covered in a recent presentation called New User Basics. So if you want to listen to that, I've included a link on this slide to the recording and the presentation. You should see your initials up here in the top corner, letting you know that it's you that logged in. This is an important page that a lot of people don't realize, that we do provide North Carolina help guides for the NCEES system. They are under this help guides tab. Mainly, if you're working in your evaluation, you want to look at the plan help guides. There's a guide for teachers and support staff, and there's a guide for the evaluator per plan type: comprehensive, standard, abbreviated, late hire, the PDP plan, and the principal plans. So look out here for your guides. These are view and do guides. I'm going to click on one. This next slide gives you those same links. Just wanted to show you a guide real quick so you can see what it does and what it gives you. And yes, Audrey, if you have time as people join to add the links in the chat, I would appreciate that. So here's just a quick look at the guide if it will fully load up here. It's going to give you all the steps that we're doing here. It's going to tell you what the purpose of the guide is. This is for the comprehensive plan for the teacher or the support staff. It's going to give you the required steps in the plan, and then it's going to start walking you through the process. Which of these activities do you need to do, and which of these activities do you just need to go in and view? So it's a view and do guide, very handy. We try to include as many screenshots as we can. Any questions about how to find your help guides?
I don't see any questions, Cammie.
Thank you, Audrey. Our NCEES information and support resources site is also available to you. This is where you're going to find all the manuals if you're a teacher, if you're a principal, if you're a support staff, if you're central office, or if you're a superintendent. We're just going to pop out there real quick to show you this site. And when you get a chance, please go out here and just go out there and dig around and see what you can find. I'm just going to, hopefully it'll load up, and we're going to click on teachers, since probably a majority that has joined us is teachers. However, a lot of this that we're going to talk about today applies to everybody that has an evaluation in NCEES. So here's your support site from NCDPI. If your left rail doesn't load up, it's under these three little lines on the left. Okay. Here is some information from COVID 2020. We're still kind of in between. So if you have remote work going on, you may want to check out that page, especially if you're an administrator or an evaluator that wants some information on how to evaluate somebody that's doing blended learning or remote teaching. Here's the information for beginning of year orientation. There's an awesome video out there that everybody should watch during their orientation. Here's the link for teachers. Before I click on that, here's support staff. It does open up. And here's your link to the webinars that we're holding. We're going to get some links out there for the September and October webinars shortly. So I'm going to click on teachers real quick. And notice here's your manual. Over here, Dr. Simmons created a list of post-observation conference questions. Teachers, if you or support staff, go through and read these questions. This will help you prepare for when you have that conference with your evaluator. This will help you learn how to get the artifacts and the answers that you need when you have that conversation with your evaluator. If you scroll down, there's links to policies, there's links to documents for procedures, and additional resources as you keep scrolling down. So do go out here and check out all the resources that Dr. Simmons has provided for you. The educator evaluation is all about growth and improvement. So the purpose of this evaluation process is to assess the teacher's performance in relation to the North Carolina professional teaching standards and to help you design a plan for your professional growth. The observations are a series of formative assessments. So you're going to have at least 2 assessments, and that's the abbreviated plan, teachers, to then get an evaluation. Evaluation is when ratings are discussed. During these formative assessments, you should be talking about growth and not really using any of those rating words at all. So this is the growth period where you and your evaluator and your peer observer and all are going to be discussing how you can grow as a teacher to then, when you get down to the end of year, get marked for those ratings that the evaluator gives you. All right, so this is the link to the teacher evaluation process. Let me see if I can copy that and put it in the chat. We'll put that in there. This was on that website, our NCEES information website. So this is what we're going to go through today. And let me see what. It's found, the teacher evaluation process. This screenshot that you see is found on page 21 in the process manual. And the resources allow you to see that it is a 4-step process. here in the middle. And you're going to do it clockwise. So you're going to start with step 1 in the green, and you see that that talks about training and orientation. And then over in step 2 in the purple, it talks about the self-assessment and the pre-observation conference and the goal setting. And then in the pink in step 3 is your observation cycle. Step 4 will be covered in the end of year webinar. So right now we're going to focus on step 1, step 2, and step 3 for this webinar today. So here's the teacher evaluation process. Teachers, you are under evaluation policy 004. This is from the State Board of Education. If you are wondering what evaluation policy, your principals should be providing this for you, this link, during your orientation. Here is just a graphic, and we'll put that link, of the evaluation cycles. So there are different evaluation cycles.
Excuse me, Cammie.
Mm-hmm.
Someone is saying that they can no longer see the PowerPoint. Kiara. I'm not sure I can, because I'm able to see it.
Are you able to see it?
Yeah, I can see it.
Kiara, sometimes check your bar at the bottom of your browser and see if maybe you opened a second window and you need to go back to a different browser window. I've done that before. Check that. I think everybody else can still see the PowerPoint. So in the evaluation cycle comparisons, you see the comprehensive cycle, and it includes, all of them include the teacher self-assessment and the professional development plan, standard and abbreviated. The pre-observation conference must be done if the observation is formal, and the first one always is. So those are needed in the comprehensive and the standard cycle, that first pre-observation. In the comprehensive, you're going to get these additional observations, 2 more formal observations and a peer observation for comprehensive before the summary evaluation for the ratings opens up. In the standards, 2 additional observations are required beyond the 1 formal observation, and they can be a choice of either formal or informal. And then the abbreviated cycle, it has to have at least 1 observation done, well, 2 observations done, and they are abbreviated, meaning instead of being evaluated on standards 1 through 5, you're going to be evaluated on just standards 1 and 4. Any questions? Well, here's my page. It's trying to. Does the informal observation require a post-conference? I am not the policy girl, but I have heard that it does not. You still do need to sign off on the activity in the plan, and it's a choice. The teacher can request a post-conference on an informal observation. All right, let's make sure we didn't skip anything. Okay. All right, so we're going to take a look at the beginning of the year orientation. Here is that link again that I showed you earlier for beginning of year orientation information. Please do go check that out. This is under step 1, component 1. And component 1 talks about the training part. So before participating in the evaluation process, all teachers, principals, and peer evaluators must complete training on how to do the evaluation process. And then component 2 of step 1, within 2 weeks of the teacher's first day, the principal should provide you the rubric for evaluating North Carolina teachers, the policy number, which is eval 004, and a calendar schedule for completing the evaluation process. Now, this can be approximate or it can be actual set dates. Your district needs to decide what those calendar dates are. So for example, does this first part of the process, does it need to be done by October 15th? Your principal will let you know when those dates need to happen. These are the links that your principal is required to give you, the policy link and the rubric link, and then they will give you a link or a way to know what the schedule is. Here's just a rehash of what we just did. You should have that face-to-face virtual orientation to be able to answer all your questions and gain clarification regarding NCEES. Beginning the evaluation plan in the online tool. So this, I did want to go to the live side for just a minute. We're going to go to my evaluation and I lost my little window. Here we go. All right, so here I am in as a teacher. It is a test teacher, so you're going to see additional plans out here. And this test teacher has actually 3 evaluation plans assigned. When you first come out here, you're going to click on My Evaluation. You're going to end up on this page. Before we look at the evaluation side of things, let's look over here to the right. Any announcements that are posted in NCEES will show up here. This could be calendar items or targeted announcements that have been set out by DPI or by your local district. The About My Evaluation just gives you some additional information about the different evaluations in NCEES. So if you look on down, you'll see career development, instructional tech, school counselors, school library media. Those are all the evaluation plans. All of those evaluation plan staff should probably also have a PDP plan, and those PDP plans can be individual, monitored, or directed. Then we have principal plan types. They do not get a PDP because their goals are set in their evaluation. Teacher and support instructional staff, your goals are set in your PDP. And then here's a few quick start guides. So how to start your plan, how to complete a self-assessment, and how to complete the training and orientation step. We're going to take a look and start this comprehensive plan in just a second. Notice there are 3 tabs up here. The current active tab has a blue line across the top. So we land on the current evaluation page. If you're repeating a year within a district, where are your last year plans? They are under the archive tab. So anything that's been archived is here. If you were to leave your current district and go to a new district, these archive plans deactivate because the new district should not see another district's evaluation of you unless you want to share it with them. So any plans from a previous district, if you're now in a new district, will show up under deactivated. So let's go back to current evaluations. You're going to start your plan by clicking the blue button. And it's going to open up, and you're going to complete the training and orientation first. Just keep clicking in until the activity opens up. You're going to click edit, and we won't go through all the steps today. I just wanted to show you this one. You're going to put in the date that you received your orientation. And notice I can backdate that. Maybe it's already happened and you haven't started this online yet. I can backdate that. Check that the school is correct. If this school is not correct, or if you see 2 different districts here, tell your principal so that they can contact, or you can contact the previous district to inactivate that location from your plan, because we don't want the other district to have access to your current year plan or for the other district name to show on your current year plan. Then you're just going to click Save and Exit. And mark it complete. It pops you back to the activity page, and you're going to then get to the observation activities. did want to show you this, and we'll have a slide later on, but we'll show you while we're out here. These letters, these circles with the letter I, I'll zoom in. If you hover over them, it's going to tell you what you need to do before you can open the activity. So we can't get into the pre-observation teacher acknowledgement until this pre-observation conference number 1 evaluator step is done. This also had a letter I until we completed the training and orientation. Since this is now complete and it shows a green check mark, this first activity for the evaluator is open for the evaluator to do the next step. So then you're just going to go back and forth as they open up to complete each activity. The gray circle means the activity is not started. It turns blue when it's in progress, and then it turns green when it's completed. All right. Any questions about those steps? All right, we're going to click right through these slides that we just covered. The My Evaluation tab, the icons that you're going to see during that evaluation. Any step that's required will have an asterisk. Only the evaluator sees the lock icons usually, so you probably won't see those, but the evaluator does. Here's the guide for starting your evaluation and PDP plans. Here's the guide for the training and orientation step. That must be done during the first 10 days of your employment at school. Here's where we went and started the plan, and we talked about the 3 tabs. Now, we used to have a big problem with you starting a plan, and you'd come out here in a few days, and you'd see the blue Start Plan button again. This doesn't happen as much anymore, but if it does, it's because something in your budget code or something changed, and it inactivated your plan. So if you see another blue Start Plan and you knew you already started your plan, click on that Deactivated Evaluations tab and see if you see it there. If you see it there, tell your principal they need to open a ticket with DPI and I can restore that plan. Do not start the plan again, because when I restore your plan, it will replace the one that says Start New. If you do start it, your district administrator can delete it. And then when I restore the plan, it's no issue. It'll pop back in there. Now, I'm going to stop and read a question just a minute. Okay, so it's a private question, so I'm not going to read it out loud. Whoever entered that, please talk to your folks to open a ticket with DPI. It sounds like I need to look into that one. Okay, once you start your plan, the window does change, and now you're going to see your name. You're going to see the date that you created the plan, that you started the plan, and what time. It's going to give you a link to the school that you were at when you started the plan. Make sure those are all correct. All right, we did the training and orientation. We walked through how to complete it. And that's just a repeat of all those steps. Here is the overall observation cycle. The principal starts with the pre-observation conference, and then the teacher acknowledges that that happened. And then the principal does the formal observation, and then the post-observation conference, and they acknowledge the activity. It goes back to the teacher who acknowledges that this happened. Even if you don't agree with the conference, what you are acknowledging is that the proper steps have taken place. Teachers and support staff, if you don't agree with what happened here and you want to provide more artifacts or a written response, you have the chance to open a written response. And the principal receives an email that says you've done that, and they must acknowledge that written response before they can go to the lock observation activity. Here is a look at what this we just talked about with the letters I's. I did not point out that on the formal observation steps or informal observation, there's a little email icon. So if you want to email your peer or your mentor anybody that has access to the plan, you can use that email right there and email them while you are working in the plan. All right, the teacher professional development process. This is your PDP plan. Here are the guides for your PDP plan. There's one for teachers, one for evaluators, and of course a mentor. If a mentor is assigned to the PDP plan, not the evaluation. Peers are assigned to evaluation, comprehensive usually, and mentors are assigned to sign off on the PDPs. This is going along with step 2. So component 3, let me find my notes here. Highlighted in purple, you're going to see step 2 in the top right-hand corner, and component 3, the teacher self-assessment. Using the rubric for evaluating North Carolina teachers, the teacher must rate his or her performance and reflect on his or her performance throughout the school year. The self-assessment should be your own personal reflection about your professional practice to identify your strengths and areas for improvement. A teacher's self-assessment should be completed without input from any others. The purpose of the self-assessments are to clarify performance expectation, is to guide discussions about goal setting and professional development, any program needs, and to provide input to the final ratings at the end of the year. The self-assessment is a tool that you can review and change throughout the year. Teachers may choose to share their self-assessment with their principal or teachers, or you may choose not to share your self-assessment. Component 4 is the goal of the pre-observation conference is to prepare the principal for the observation. Before the first formal observation, the principal meets with the teacher to discuss 3 things. First, the self-assessment that was just completed by the teacher. You're still going to talk about it, but you don't have to actually show it to them. That's your decision. Okay? And then the professional growth plan and a written description of the lessons to be observed. Any questions about that? Let's take a closer look at the professional development plans. There are 3 types of professional development plans: individual growth plan, monitor growth plan, and a directed growth plan. Your PDPs should serve as a roadmap for teacher growth. They can include individual goals, school goals, and district goals, and they can be aligned to your school improvement plan. This alignment will strengthen and streamline all of your improvement conversations.
I have a question, Cami.
Okay.
They want to know, is a pre-conference required for an abbreviated plan?
Um, I have to go. Let me look at an abbreviated plan. I don't believe so, because they can be informal, or those can be informal observations. Let me see if my person has an abbreviated plan assigned. And we can look at the abbreviated guide, maybe. Comprehensive, like, no, I don't have an abbreviated plan on this person. Um, so let's look at the abbreviated help guide, but I don't believe it is because I think those can be informal. Scroll by real quick. It was way back there, wasn't it? Oh, there it is. So the abbreviated cycle, it does not have an X for the pre-observation conference. Hope that answered your question. So no, not required. All right. Let's get back to where we were. I'm not moving too fast for everybody. There we go. So here's an explanation about those professional development growth plans. The new teachers and teachers who are rated at least proficient on all the standards on the teacher summary rating form under the individual PDP. The teacher sets the individual goals under this plan and meets with the administrator 3 times at least during the year to discuss beginning of year, mid-year, and end of year. Next, a teacher can be placed on a monitored growth plan whenever he or she is rated developing on one or more standards on the teacher summary rating form. The administrator and the teacher meet to discuss and set goals together. They should also meet at least 3 times during the year to discuss, but you can meet more often. And then lastly, the directed growth plans are for teachers that rated not demonstrated on any standard on the teacher summary rating form or developing on one or more standards on the teacher summary rating form for 2 sequential years. In this case, the administrator will set the goals for the teachers based on observations and the documentation. You will meet with the teacher to review the development plan, and they will meet at least 3 times during the year to discuss. And definitely probably should meet more often because we do want, all of these are growth opportunities, so you do want to meet as often as you need to develop that growth. None of these plans are reasons for dismissal unless that's defined locally in your local district. None of these plans at the DPI level is a reason for dismissal. These are all to help teachers grow. Let's look at navigating your PDP. Here's the PDP self-assessment guide. We're going to go back to my evaluation and we're going to start the plan that's named Professional Development Plan. Of course, you're going to see 2021, 2022. When it opens up, there is this red disclaimer up here, or this red message up here. It says, verify the PDP self-assessment are aligned to your role. This is probably more important for those of you that are instructional, other roles like counselors, library media coordinators. If you open your self-assessment and down here, see highlighted in yellow, it says teachers demonstrate leadership. That's not your rubric. So you want to see one that says counselors or ITFs. You want to see those standards. So sometimes if you've opened up your PDP before your plan has been completely set, it will automatically default to the teacher's rubric. To fix this, you need to start the rubric and then don't do anything in it. This will change to a menu and you can delete it. It will spin, and as long as your plan is set correctly by the administrator, it will repopulate with the correct rubric. If it does not, contact your principal to make sure that your plan type is set correctly. Sometimes this is an issue for teachers, but more often it's an issue for those other support roles, instructional roles. So here's where you're going to start new. You're going to make sure your rubric is correct, and then you're going to start tallying the boxes. You do not have to tally everything under developing to be able to check something under proficient or accomplished, or I should say knowledge, because during observations and during this part, we're looking at the growth descriptors, not the rating descriptors. So this first column is the knowledge descriptors. What do you know? The next column is action. What do you show? The next column is interaction. How does it show in your classroom with your students? And then the final column is extension. How does this show outside of your classroom? How is it affecting other areas, other teachers, other areas with your stakeholders in your school community? You must check at least one box in each element to be able to finalize this. I think I have another slide here. All right. So here is that menu drop down here. So if you're working in here, you can always stop, come back in, and continue if you've not completed. You won't see the finalize until you've checked at least one box in every standard element. Once you've checked one box in every standard element, the finalize button will appear. And you no longer have to mark complete. Those of you that were here last year, you used to have to mark complete. Now when you click finalize, it automatically completes and you'll get a green check. This is where delete is. Let's see who's muted. There we go. So here's where you delete if you have the wrong rubric. Once you've completed your self-assessment, it shows complete with a green check, but it's never locked. That's because some districts want you to go back in mid-year and reassess. If you want to compare yourself from the beginning of the year before you reassess, print out your self-assessment. There'll be a little print icon in there. Because once you update it, you do not have access to the previous ratings that you rated yourself or the tallies that you tallied on yourself. You can always self-assess at any time. So this will then open up the PDP initial review. And again, it also has the letter I's. It'll hover over those and it'll tell you what needs to happen next. Here is a picture of the activity for the initial review. You're going to open it up and you're going to have to tell the system, it's required, what subject area are you? In this case, this is a math teacher. Do you have a mentor? What is the mentor's name and what subject area are they? Those are not required fields, but it's helpful to fill those in. Complete the form, save it and exit it, and the next form down is going to be your goals. So you're going to start a new goal. All of these little squares are required. You must enter what your goal is. You must enter what activities and actions you're going to take for your goal. Enter your expected outcomes and evidence for completion that you're going to provide. Enter any resources that are needed to help you meet this goal. And then what timeline are you expecting to complete this goal? Once you've set all those, you can save and exit. Talk with your principal, and they're going to let you know maybe what minimum number of goals you need to set, usually at least 2. Then you're going to save and exit, and you do have to mark it complete to get your green check mark. Any questions about setting those goals in the review process? Okay. Thank you for that comment from our previous question. I'm glad you were able to get it to reset. The PDP review cycle doesn't start with the principal, it starts with the teacher or the support staff. You're going to enter your PDP details. Then the evaluator is going to review it and they're going to sign off on it. If you have a mentor, the mentor signature is needed to be put in. And then once that's in place, you can sign off on it and acknowledge this. And then finally, the evaluator will lock everything up in that review cycle. Okay, we're getting ready to go into component 4, which is the observation conference. The observation process. Actually, step 3 in component 5. All right. So the standard, let's see. Component 5. Observations is when an evaluator checks the descriptors of the rubric while watching a lesson. There are 2 types of observations, formal and informal. Formal observations last 45 minutes for the entire class period. An informal observation should last at least 20 minutes. And a post-conference is not required. There's our answer from earlier, but it can be requested by the teacher. Teachers with less than 3 years of employment will be on the comprehensive evaluation cycle, which consists of 3 formal observations from the principal or their designee, and 1 formal observation from a peer. Teachers with more than 3 years of employment will be on the standard or abbreviated evaluation cycle. The standard cycle requires 3 observations. 1 must be formal. The abbreviated includes 2 observations on standards 1 and 4. Abbreviated observations may be formal or informal. When you are in your renewal year, you must be on the standard evaluation cycle. All right, component 6 is your post-observation conference. The principal shall conduct a post-observation conference no later than 10 school days after each formal observation. If it's much longer than that, we recommend that you repeat the observation, and then you'll have a viable length of time to then go have that discussion. If it's longer than 10 days, that discussion is now old, so you should repeat that observation. The purpose of the post-observation conference is to discuss and document the strengths and rubrics on the rubric, and this is a crucial part of the evaluation process. The meeting between the teacher and observer provides an opportunity for strengthened communication that results in the plan of continued improvement for your teaching practice. During each post-observation conference, the principal and teacher discuss and document on the rubric the strengths and weaknesses of the teacher's performance during the observed lesson. The post-observation conference should not include discussions of the ratings. And again, a reminder that your educator evaluation, those observations are about growth and improvement. So we're going to take another look at an observation. And we won't repeat all of this. We have talked about this. Here's the observation cycle. This looks like a comprehensive plan cycle. Depends on your observation type. The asterisks that show are required activities. Sometimes you won't see the asterisk until the activity is opened up. Here's looking at the acknowledgement part of the process. You're going to come in when it's ready and you've completed the entering the dates and everything and the artifacts if you want to provide artifacts. Here is that acknowledge button to get the green check on the teacher acknowledgement part of the process. Remember I told you about being able to enter a written response. This can be where you can provide additional artifacts or provide comments about the conference you just had. Here you're going to open up your written response and you're going to click edit and you're going to enter any comments and any attachments. An email gets sent to your evaluator. They can acknowledge that written response and you can go back and review if you need to. Did want to talk about light bulb moments real quick. We'll talk more about these when we have a webinar on professional development. But as you are looking to learn more to help you grow, DPI does have courses in NCEES, and some of our divisions have aligned them to your standards. If those courses are aligned to a standard, you're going to see a light bulb in your evaluation. This is mainly for those on comprehensive standard and late hire plans. We have had some divisions to start remembering to go set these for the abbreviated plans as well. But when they pick teacher evaluation, it only sets it on the standard, comprehensive, and late hire plans. You'll click on that light bulb. It will bring up a list of courses that are aligned to the standard. Maybe this is one of your goals. Maybe Element 1A is one of your goals. And you can click on that light bulb and find a course to start or register for. A lot of people don't see them because they're so tiny, but you do have light bulbs in there. So just a quick look at the professional development tab. This is where you go search for courses. And if we have time, we'll jump out there. We have about 10 minutes left. You're going to have a course search. Professional development is what I call my search area. This is where I'm going to go look for courses. So I'm going to pop this over here just 1 second. Hopefully this teacher is still logged in. We're going to click on professional development. And now this teacher may not have many courses because she's a training teacher. But here you can enter a word. So you could do like math if you're a math teacher. Or you can just click show all to go see everything out there. So we're not going to go in depth here today because we do have that other webinar to go in depth. But yep, they only see 2 courses. You're going to see a lot more. Here's one, what great teachers do differently. You can click on the title. It is self-paced. Once I click into it, this one must already be started for this teacher. They would see a start button over here to start that course. All right, and then once you start courses, you can go to the My Courses tab to manage any course that you've started. Just want to show you that real quick. Here's an explanation about how to find courses if you don't want to wait for the webinar. Here's a lot of resources for how to find courses in NCEES. This My Courses tab, you have a My Courses container. This is where your learning opportunities live. So if you've signed up for courses, they're going to show up under this section. And you can then go and enter your course. If your district is using PD playlist, they're going to show up here. If your course has a survey attached, you must complete the survey to get your certificate. You will get your credits when you complete, but you don't get your certificate if the course has a survey on it and you've not done the survey. So remember to do those surveys. You will get a reminder to do them. If your district is recommending training or requiring training, they're going to show up here. I just want to show you that real quick. In that My Courses button is where you're going to find your transcript. And that's where your CEUs and certificate link will be when you complete a course. All right, so I'm going to stop here. We did go through that pretty quick. Does anybody have any additional questions? I hope you got what you came to learn today. I'm going to put a link to our feedback in the chat. Please do complete our feedback. Let us know what we did well, what we need to improve on. And if you want to receive a certificate for attending today, the last question on the feedback form is going to ask you if you want to receive that certificate, and you will need to provide your email address and your name so that that certificate will populate with your name and you can print that out. Can you please tell me what the teacher summary rating form is? Yes, if we can show you one. So that happens at the end of the year. Let me see if I can find one real quick. Stop impersonating. Spinning a little bit. Okay, I'm going to go to staff evaluations. I'm going to find one that I can show you that's a training account. I do want to let you know, if you are assigned as a peer or a mentor, you will click on this staff evaluations that I just clicked on. Anybody can click here, but you won't see anything in this list unless somebody has assigned a plan for you to work in. So here are some plans that are active that have been started, and you also won't see the plan if you've been assigned to somebody until they start it. So once they start it, it shows up in this list. Trying to find one that's got a summary done. You do have this dashboard so you can see what progress people are in. Let me find one. Here's an abbreviated plan as a peer. Here's one that has a summary completed. Let's look at that one. So during the year, you're going to have those 2 or 3 observations to do. And then once all the observations are done, the summary will open, and I'm crossing my fingers. Let's see if we can get into it. Oh, that's the acknowledgement. Clicked on the wrong thing. Come back. All right, summary evaluation form. This is what your evaluator is going to complete at the end of the year. They're going to, and this one's complete. So what they do is they go through, they actually look at your observation scoring summary, and I'll show you that too. They're going to see how many times you were tallied for your knowledge or your development. How many times did you get tallies for each standard for the action, which then translates to proficient at the end of the year. How many tallies did you get for interaction, which translates to accomplished at the end of the year? So they're going to come in here, they're going to mark all these, and then they're going to decide what overall. So here's standard one. This person was rated accomplished overall. But on each element, they got distinguished, distinguished, proficient, distinguished, distinguished. So it's up to the evaluator to make that final decision on that final overall rating for the overall standard. I hope that answers your question. I do want to show you the observation scoring summary. That's in the record of evaluation activities. As you get your observations completed during the year, each observation is going to show up in here. And I don't know why this has this must be because it's a test account. But each time you were observed is going to show up here at the top, and there'll be little check boxes. So if you only want to look at your first observation tally marks, you can uncheck the other 2 or 3, or just leave them all checked, and you can see the total tallies for each section down below. And this is what your evaluator is going to look at and work with to do that final evaluation summary. Does that help you, Suzanne? Do we have any other questions? I'm going to click through a few resources. As a first-year teacher, do I need to check something in Distinguished for my self-evaluation? If you feel you meet something in Distinguished, sure, that's your self-evaluation, your self-assessment, I think, is what you're talking about. Your self-assessment in your PDP. Yes. So, yes, you can check anything you feel you need to meet that you meet already, and then make sure you have that discussion with your evaluator on are they going to observe that as well? What you need to supply for artifacts, different kind of things like that, so that they can observe that as well. You may know that you do that, but it's going to be on you to provide that evidence to your principal. Is it something they can observe, or is it something that you need to provide artifacts for?
And I'm sorry, Camille, I'm sorry. And I came late because I was doing carpool. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I thought I heard you say that for everyone, we have to check one of the distinguished, or did I just
You
misunderstand what
have
you
to
were saying?
check at least one tally box. Doesn't have to be distinguished. So when you're in your self-assessment,
Okay, I understand now.
Yeah,
That makes sense. I
yeah,
thought you meant
yeah.
everyone, like everything has to be checked, even in distinguished. I'm like, I don't think I'm there yet.
Oh, no, 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 no. Just you have to have at least one box checked, and if it's something that you're not looking for, you can check not look for. But one box has to be checked in each element for you to be able to finalize or complete the activity. All right. So our webinars, we just completed beginning of year for teachers and support staff. This next webinar is 2 hours long, so do check that time. It is 3 to 5. It is presented by Dr. Robert Sachs, and he is amazing at explaining the difference between the observation and that summary evaluation. The difference between the growth conversations and then the end of year rating conversation. So do join that. That's for everybody. Here's our contact information. These are linked to our emails. If you need to contact a former district and you want to know who the contact person is, so maybe you have 2 schools listed for yourself and you need the former district to inactivate you, you need to know who that contact person is, check out here. If you're an administrator, you can enter a support desk ticket. Teachers, your first resource would be your principal or your NCEES lead if you have a NCEES lead at your school. Usually you go to your principal first, and if they can't solve the issue, they'll moving on up the chain to the district NCEES lead, who then opens the ticket with us, and we resolve any issues that might be happening for NCEES. All right, so we're going to get ready to end. It is 5 o'clock. I appreciate you guys joining today. I'm going to stop the recording, but I will stay on the line in case there's any additional questions. So thank you guys. You have a great evening.